Welcome to Fashion Forum with Nellie in partnership with SA Creatives, shooting live from School of Fashion in Randburg. Today our discussion point is going to be about re-narrating fashion and beauty standards. And today here with me I have Olivia, who is an international published photographer, a video photographer and also a YouTuber. So welcome.
Hi, nice to meet you. I didn't know I had all these accolades.
The first question that I have to you is, I basically went through your portfolios and your Twitter and your Instagram and had a look.
My Twitter.
And had a look at all of the visuals and the photos that you've posted. And within this discussion point of beauty standards and fashion standards, and specifically the manner that you capture beauty, can you expand on your photography style and also elaborate on how it is different from the mainstream photography in terms of beauty?
It's always so difficult when people ask me what my style is. I still don't know to this day. I guess I can tell you what people have told me what my style is, because I don't know. I think it's always better from that kind of perspective, but people have always told me that my stuff's just raw and authentic and like kind of to the point, I guess. And that even if I'm working with a model, it looks like a character study, even though it's just a portfolio shot for a model. So I guess what makes my style different, I guess, is that I don't overly pose anyone that I shoot. And I also tend to make women look more masculine and men look more feminine in my work. And I think it's because lately I've realized that like all of us obviously have male and feminine energy, like masculine and feminine energy. So why not show that in a male model? Why not make them pose a little bit more femininely, whatever that might mean, and then vice versa for female models. I don't know if my work is like that extraordinarily different or like unique as such, but I think that's how I kind of capture beauty in a sense. Even if I do beauty photography for like makeup brands, say, I don't really like to overly Photoshop the skin or kind of distort the model in any way, just because like they're really beautiful. So like, what is the need? Obviously you edit things out like blemishes or anything that won't be there in a few months' time, I edit out. But besides that, like under eye circles, wrinkles, not blemishes, I mean typical blemishes that the industry would see, like freckles would be a blemish or a scar would be a blemish, but that's what makes people so unique and makes you stand out and you be you. So I guess that's how I kind of see beauty. I don't really overly pose, and I just, who you are is what you are, and I photograph it and that's it.
Yes, so definitely what I've noticed about your photography is definitely, as you described it, the characteristics of the rawness. I also think the element of the documentary, as you've stated, that you usually use friends, or that's how you started with just photographing normal people, our everyday kind of beauty. And exactly what you stated, specifically with the fashion industry and the beauty industry, is we all know that saying of beauty lies in the eyes of the beholder. And in this instance, unfortunately, the fashion industry is the beholder, and this beholder is never satisfied. There's always room for improvement of taller, thinner, stronger, more masculine, more feminine, all of this critique that we are receiving. So ultimately, within the field of media, it is very difficult to find that ideal of beauty. At the end of the day, not establishing that there can only be one beholder of beauty at the end of the day. And I also think when it comes specifically to beauty standards, is that the overall effect that beauty standards has on us is leading to a low self-esteem, leading to depression, body dysmorphic disorders. So I really think that is what I find inspiring in your photographs of documenting another authentic realness of women. So I've also noticed that you prefer to shoot females, and as you've stated, you shoot your females with a more masculine approach sometimes, or vice versa. So basically, the next question that I want to ask you is, how are you trying to change the perceived perception of society based on gender through your photography?
Well, I guess I question the male gaze in my work just because I strongly believe that how people are represented in the industry, in media, like filters down into real life. So if you're seen as an object, you're going to be treated as an object, unfortunately. So that's why I guess I use the word masculine, but I guess I just let the models or whoever I'm photographing, if they're female, I just let them be. I'm not telling them to arch their backs to look a certain way. I'm not telling them to suck anything in. I'm not making them look sexy, because inherently everyone has a sexiness to them. They have that kind of sexuality to them that you don't really need to coax out too much, especially with women. Throughout the years, like, painters have looked at women's bodies, like men who designed cars looked at women's bodies to create the car. That's why they keep calling cars she. So there's the curves, and everyone's like, oh, it's there for the aerodynamics. But why are they so curvy? Think about it. No, but in seriousness, I think that's why I kind of photograph my models the way I do, male or female, is that I just want to take the male gaze aspect out of it, be it in my photo or my videography work. I just think, like I said earlier, representation matters so much, and if you're seen as an object, you'll be treated as an object.
Very interesting. I really like that point of view that you just made. So specifically what I want to discuss next with you is your the photos that you took for the Dove campaign specifically, and the one visual that I looked at was the female that was shot in the park, I think, and it was a very strong masculine woman. She works out, muscles, for example, and also that whole Dove campaign ran along the lines of showing authentic beauty and unfilteredness, which very nicely aligns with our episode of last week. So can you share some information about the campaign? How has that grown you as an artist, or how has it influenced your view at the end of the day?
The Dove campaign is still like a pinch me moment kind of thing. I think it aligned quite well with how I photograph women anyway, because the whole campaign was about women behind the lens photographing other women. No digital distortion whatsoever, except, again, like I said, blemishes or things that might be gone like in a month's time we were allowed to remove, but anything else, stretch marks, moles, nothing else can be touched. So I think it kind of like everything, the zeitgeist just came together and everything made sense, and I was just doing what I was doing, and I picked out the model because I had to pitch 7 models, and then the client picked that model, L. So I photographed her, and it was so lovely. We just went around her area in Orange Grove, and then she was like, oh, there's like a cool swimming pool if you guys want to go there. And I was like, sure, let's go, because like you are wearing a costume. And what I think was also so powerful about it is because I didn't direct her. I asked her, how do you want to be represented? How do you want to be seen? And she's like, I just want to be seen as a woman, because she's a trans woman. So she's like, I just want to be seen as a woman. So doing everyday things. So that's why we took photos of her at a library, climbing a tree, at the pool, the groceries, everything. So she just wanted to be seen as an everyday woman and not be seen as like a transgender woman, which I think a lot of transgender women or like people can resonate with. And that's why I just thought I would rather her direct me in how she would want to be represented, instead of me telling her how she should be represented. Because again, I'm not a transgender woman, so I can't exactly tell her that. Or, you know, I just thought it would be better if she led me and I was just taking photos of her.
Oh, wow, that's really a very interesting approach. with regards to just the respect between two individuals, respecting each other's values. And I think that is a lot of times what we are missing, especially with your discussion earlier about objectification of women and sexualization, is when the photographer is telling someone to act a certain way, do a specific pose, which is really taking away from the person being the human ability. Which is very enlightening, because as with our discussion where we are speaking about re-narrating beauty standards and fashion standards, it's important to acknowledge what are the beauty standards. So since you have worked with a lot of models, what are some of the beauty standards that you just cannot take anymore, that you are fed up with?
I think they're ever evolving. Like, I remember being fed up when being a waif was very in fashion, that 90s waif, like you have no hips, no boobs, you're just a stick basically. And there's no problem if you are naturally like that, but I think that was definitely a trend in women's bodies at one point. And I think I'm just kind of sick of body types being in fashion. You know what I mean? I don't like that every few years it's a new body type that's now in fashion. And it's making women just like, again, overanalyze themselves and pick at themselves and want to look a certain way. And I know now it's this false narrative of, yeah, we're super body positive, but if you have a tummy, you're still not pretty. So it's again that we're celebrating and embracing bigger bodies, but if you have a stomach, that's not okay. If you have a double chin, that's not okay. So I just think it's these double standards of beauty that I'm so sick of. I'm honestly so sick of. Like, makeup trends can come and go, I'm fine with that, whatever, let's have fun, let's play. But it's the scrutiny of body types that's like really, like, a body type's not a pair of jeans. You know what I mean? So that's the one thing that just really grinds my gears, that like body types can be in fashion and come out of fashion. It's just so detrimental.
Yes, definitely. And I mean, also specifically focusing on a discussion that I had with my students recently is that at the moment, plus size fashion is very inclusive at this time, but at the same time, the petite fashion range is so a very short person, very tiny person, they do not have places to shop at because they are at this time not being represented. So overall, it's always this discussion of which group are we currently going to focus on. So referring back to beauty in the eyes of the beholder is that there's always, through the eyes of media, just this one focal vision of this is the person that we are going to focus on. And I think most likely that is the most problematic aspect. So talking about authentic beauty on a level where you spoke earlier about removing blemishes that will, for example, be gone in a month's time, specifically referring to the freckles trend. So we are seeing this inclusivity in beauty about acknowledging and empowering blemishes, marks, textures, but specifically with freckles now, usually freckles were not deemed to be beautiful. Then it became such a trend that people are now actually tattooing freckles on them. So where do you think is the scale or the balance of just authentic beauty referring to yourself being pretty, not about what is beautiful on someone else and applying it to yourself?
I think that's just down to people, again, comparing themselves. And I can see where people are coming from who do want to tattoo freckles on themselves. And I can also see where people who have been bullied their whole life for having freckles are also coming from being like really annoyed and quite frankly like just pissed off that people are now just being like, oh my god, freckle tattoos and like freckle and makeup, and they're kind of like, okay, cool, I was just not cool, just pay for my therapy then, because I had to like go through a lot of bullying and trauma. And I think there is a fine line between like appreciating something and wanting to put it on yourself, and then I don't know, it's such a and appropriating. Yeah, I don't know. these lines where it's like, again, where it can be freckles or Indian American headdress. So it's like, again, they're appropriating, like there's these spectrums to everything. I think makeup, that's harmless. Tattooing, listen, if you want to accentuate your own freckles with tattoos, more power to you if you want to do that. However, I also don't want to be like the police and say, if you don't have freckles, don't get freckles.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
No, definitely.
It's, you do you, just as long as you're not hurting anyone. But then again, I don't know. Oh, it's such a layered.
It's such
thing.
that is the discussion of this fashion forum with Nellie, is that in media and in fashion, there's never one correct answer. But it is important that we analyze and interpret all of these different points of views, and that it's not just a trend, but that there is layers of emotional meaning and the psychological influence of what we are seeing in media, what we are portraying in media. And being a photographer specifically, it's almost as if you have that say in what is going to be published in the media. So being the middleman between society and the media industry. And how do you think you can change the way that society sees beauty?
I think that's going to take a few years, because obviously I think we're still very much about a polished image.
Yes.
And I mean, I do also direct my models still, so how authentic can that even be? You know what I mean? Even though I tell them, like, sit here and look like this, I'm still telling them, lift your chin down, do this way. I mean, for example, now with, Victoria's Secret now having instead of Victoria Angels, it's the Victoria, can't remember, they have like a group of women now who are basically going to be overseeing and overhauling like Victoria's Secret in a sense now.
Okay.
So I don't know if you've seen, because it's like the captain of the US soccer team was one of them, and there's a few plus size models there, or I mean as plus size as the modeling industry will allow. The women who also started Girl Gaze is how I got that Dove job, Amanda.
Oh wow.
So I think it's those small things and changes that can kind of change the perspective of beauty. Because at the end of the day, it's just like, just take a photo of a person, like everyone's beautiful. There doesn't have to be a specific person, doesn't have to be a certain waist measurement, height. If you're beautiful, then you can be used on any kind of campaign if you so wish to do. I mean, Calvin Klein is now having in that moment as well, where there was like a plus size, I think transgender or queer woman who was on the campaign, like a huge campaign. And I mean, 2 years ago, it was a really skinny, heteronormative white woman, you know what I mean? And like that kind of change has been lovely to see. And I think just having just more having more photographers in a team behind the camera that's very cognizant of everything, I think is also going to be a big change, or can be a big change in that. Because unfortunately you do have, not to generalize, but you do have male photographers who are only in this to sleep with women. So I think if we don't hire them and we hire other people, that'd be great as well.
Yes, so definitely the creative mindset or the theme that you are wanting to share, because I think as a photographer, every visual is there to tell a message, a story. It's not just a pretty picture, it's the semiotics of what is the meaning that you are trying to convey.
Completely.
So as a photographer, what are the main themes that you are focusing on to share through your images?
Oh geez, themes. I don't know. So many people read things into my work, but I'm just taking photos.
Yes, okay.
I'm just, not to sound very anticlimactic to your question, but I'm just genuinely just taking photos of like people I find really stunning. Like a lot of times I go up to people and I say, I find you really striking. Do you mind if I take photos of you? Okay. Or I reach out to people online. It's just, when sometimes you just see someone and you think they're beautiful, and I'm like, not to be a creep, but I want to take photos of you.
Yes.
And I get hired on jobs and I just do my thing. I don't know if it's inherently me having the female gaze, because there are also women who do perpetuate the male gaze because internalized misogyny, and that's what we've been fed. And I mean, there's so few women in the industry, so I mean, I don't blame female photographers for perpetuating that male gaze. It's just how it is. But I don't know. I think I've just always. I take photos and I do it in my way. I try not to use certain semiotics or angles to perpetuate a certain narrative or anything.
Yes.
So I guess that's what I always do. I never shoot a female model from top down.
Okay.
Because that just makes them look meek and mild. There's a time and place for that, but it never looks okay to me.
Okay, that's great. I really actually love your interpretation of how objective you are when taking photographs, really being a passion in terms of just capturing the beauty of the person and not necessarily working with this symbol is going to speak for this. But as you stated, your audience is now empowered to create their own messages, since there isn't one correct answer at the end of the day. So I really think that is a very amazing approach as a photographer. And then also what I really think is so important is that many of our students are photographers, and I was also a photography student, and always going out to modeling agencies to try and find a model. So it's like that thought of the person next to you can be my model, that can be my person. So really engaging with beauty all around us, and not necessarily what we have been taught of, this is what a model should look like, or this is the beauty that needs to be presented. Because I think specifically in the field of fashion, we are more open to interpretation. We are more open to models that look different, which I also think is now quite a trend in terms of finding someone with a gap between their teeth that is now very beautiful, or someone with a lot of freckles, for example. But I think in the beauty industry specifically, there's a lot more work to be done, specifically referring to all of the Miss SA entries that I've been seeing. And we are seeing the same beauty across all of the different women, who are all very beautiful, but it is that one perspective of what beauty is. So what would you say is your message to any of our viewers out there that might feel having a low self-esteem with regards to pictures they are seeing, not being able to measure up to beauty standards? From a photographer's perspective, being the middleman of what is perceived in fashion, but also having that direct line of neutrality and authenticity. What is your message?
Curate what you're viewing. If someone you're following is upsetting you or making you feel triggered or making you feel insecure or ugly, unfollow them. It's as simple as that. I don't want to say that, a part of it is that what you consume does affect you. As someone also with mental health and also advocates for that, just unfollow these accounts that make you feel ugly and make you feel less than. It's as easy as that. Just, you do not need to be consuming another bikini photo of a girl you're gonna just think like, oh, but I don't look like that in a bikini photo, and also they don't look like that in a bikini photo at all. No one looks like that. It's a split second of someone looking really good. As a photographer, I can make someone look really good for one split second, and then they relax. And then they also sit down. Everyone has roles, be it skin or fat roles, it doesn't even matter. No one looks like these people. These influencers don't even look like themselves. There's Facetune involved. That's not, it's all fake. It's all fake. Everything's fake. Like I told you, I even tell my models to chin up or chin down. It's all fake. Here's the secret, it's all fake. So once I think you realize that if you unfollow accounts that make you unhappy, do that, because that's like a game changer. Even if it's friends, just be like, yo, listen, I can't look at you because I think your body is banging and it makes me feel sad. Okay, mute it or unfollow them. It doesn't you have to take care of your own mental well-being. Unfortunately, I don't think beauty or the fashion industry is going to get to a point where we're not going to get affected, because also as it's a human nature to compete, to constantly compare. So I don't even if it's an ideal world, I still think people are going to be comparing themselves to someone else. Be it they're smarter than me, they're funnier than me, they have abs, I don't have abs, they're like taller, I'm short, or like they're some tall people want to be shorter. So it's this constant, we're reaching for this ideal that doesn't exist, and it literally does not exist. It doesn't exist. So I think once you have that epiphany of like, Emily Ratajkowski doesn't look like that 24/7. She doesn't. She doesn't look like that. And even if she does, that's good on you, girl. But like, she's the 1%. It's just a genetic lottery. There was this TED talk by this model who was just like, I'm nothing special. I just won the genetic lottery. Like, there's nothing about this. Like, I didn't work to be this person. I didn't reach or like try and work towards this. I was born and I look like this. And once you realize that, and also if you work with more models, they're also very insecure. So no one's 100% confident. That's all on you.
Sure, yes, that's very enlightening. I have to say, I think definitely when it comes to beauty specifically is just, like you said, firstly acknowledging that what we are seeing is not always true, and then reflecting back in terms of we enjoy makeup every now and then, feeling comfortable, but at the end of the day, I think the beauty is definitely based on, as you've also stated online a lot of times, is your comfort level of your confidence that is being portrayed, ultimately being the main essence of what makes you beautiful or not is your confidence in terms of how you feel about yourself. Because as we've stated, beauty in the eyes of the beholder, every beholder has a different approach to what is beautiful.